Giant robots are cool and all, but the best part of this episode is Chuchu punching the hell out of these bitches.
Powerful Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby. The bad blood between the people from Earth and space takes center stage in the latest episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. This is an episode which was absolutely rich with content, character development, action scenes, political stakes, not to mention that classic old tried and true prejudice storyline that the Mobile Suit Gundam anime franchise just loves to dig up like the corpse that it is. And sad to say, these themes are still fairly universal today, and it makes it one hell of an episode of the series. But before we get to that, if you're liking my content, make sure to hit the like button. If you're loving my content, subscribe to the channel so you can check out some of my other videos. I'm not just talking about Gundam, I'm reviewing Bleach and Chainsaw Man, all that good stuff. Check it out. But let's get back to the latest episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. This was a fill to the brims kind of episode. If you're going into this expecting to see just endless mobile suit duels, go ahead, curb that enthusiasm. It's time to take a reality check and see what the series is going to be all about, which is the same old stuff that Gundam's kind of been doing forever. Now, pump the brakes. I'm not saying this is a negative. I actually think this is a really good thing for the series, as again, it's just kind of baked into Gundam's DNA, this storyline of these opposing forces, which of course is supposed to be a massive metaphor for things that have been going on in our world. And like I said, it's sad that these things keep on happening, but here we are in this storyline. But it does manage to work pretty well as more of an excuse to introduce the strife in the school Astakasia of Technology. That's the name of the school. I almost forgot it. But this episode delves a little bit more into what this school is actually going to be like. I've been sort of waiting to see what it's going to be like. I mean, are we just going to be in classrooms, just hearing lectures? No, we're going to be in giant robots. Fucking shit up. Punching bitches in the face. Yeah, the real star of this episode has got to be Chuchu. As goofy as the character looks with her ridiculous cotton candy-like hair, Chuchu's a little firecracker, and she will fuck your shit up. The Gundam anime franchise has had a lot of epic punches. I think Camille was one of the big headliners of all of this, but really, this one is all about Chuchu. I mean, there were giant robots in the show that I'm talking about, and I care more about this girl just beating the shit out of these chicks at the end of the episode. It's a fantastic moment, and again, it shows a lot of progression for her character, because pretty much the whole point of this episode is that Chuchu is a part of the Earth House, and they hate everybody from space. Everybody from space hates the Earthlings, blah, 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 and the fact of the matter is Suletta is kind of in the middle, having to deal with all of the bullshit. Suletta has no prejudice when compared to her fellow Spatians. She just sees other people, and she definitely needs to work with other people, because this episode made it very clear that Suletta is kind of in over her head, which is a little surprising for me. I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but the fact of the matter is they end up throwing her through the ringer in this episode. First and foremost, let's talk about Gwail Jeter, who gets immediately rejected at the beginning of the episode. That's funny, and I liked his character a lot, especially in the last episode where he went through what seemed like a pretty massive change, but it looks like he's still going to be putting on a little bit of a, you know, douchebag facade, if you will. It's like douchebag cologne. 2 sprays is all it takes. While before he was an asshole, now he's a lovable asshole. This is called character development, and everybody gets a piece of that in this episode, which I really did appreciate, because I couldn't tell you much about Suletta before, aside from her very tragic backstory in the prologue, but now they're finally starting to show who she is. She's kind of a chicken shit. But on the other hand, she has a very big heart, and she's very empathetic and sympathetic, and she simply wants to help people. In fact, we get to learn her whole Hokage goal in this episode, which is to say she has a dream to build a school on Mercury so that more people can come to it and the planet can become more prosperous. Because apparently, not a lot of people stay there, there's nothing really to live for there, and it's also an excuse to drop a little bit more lore on this world, especially when it comes to the substance or particles or whatever this stuff is, which is known as permet. That's usually what they've been using a lot in the mobile suits, in particular the Gundams, taking it to the permet limit. Essentially, we learn that they've been mining on Mercury, but now they're mining on the moon. Fuck the moon, apparently! Piccolo's not destroying it, and Saitama's not slamming into it. The moon is constantly just getting bent over in the anime universe. But Suletta is getting a lot of development in this episode. It's making me care about her just a little bit more. It makes me want to see her succeed. She's a character who simply just wants to strive for peace, but when it comes to battling, she gonna do it. However, she can't do it herself. We get to learn that in this episode as they go through all these different exams, getting to see the mobile suits in actions, the one that basically look like Juggernaut. And while a lot of her peers do great, Suletta just sucks. Despite being the holder of the school, the #1 top dog, she fails this test multiple times. And it's hilarious because they're actually able to retry it. And by retry it, I mean they can basically do it as many times as they want. This does take away some of the stakes, but it also drives home the absolute hopelessness of Suletta in this school, because it was made clear a couple episodes that people are going to intervene in the duels or all these various conflicts. And while they're retaking the test, we get to see that there are these two girls who are basically screwing up everything. Basically, the whole exercise is her in a mobile suit walking through a minefield, and she needs sort of like a spotter and a mechanic to help her out. And her mobile suit gets blinded, and she's running around in a mines left and right, and things are not looking good. However, next in line to do this exam is Chuchu, and throughout the course of this episode, they make it clear that Chuchu does not like Suletta, mostly just because she's from space, and that's because she harbors a very strong prejudice for everyone from space. And yes, this makes her a little bit of a hypocrite, but again, the episode does something smart. It manages to actually change her by the end of the episode, where she actually ends up defending Suletta, maybe even inadvertently, but most importantly, it makes it so that Chuchu actually ends up seeing Suletta as a person and not just a weird space country bumpkin. And she does so by going up to these girls and decking them in the face. And it's so damn funny. I think the best scene is the build up to the first punch, where you see her walking up, it's a big close up, and then suddenly you get this big wide shot with no movement at all, aside from Chuchu just punching this girl in the face. It's starkly realistic, and I almost had to like pause the episode, I was laughing so hard. She starts fighting this other girl, Suletta tries to intervene, and she ends up getting fucking falcon punched herself, and then suddenly that's when Chuchu comes in with a coup de grace, just absolutely demolishing this girl's face. This scene was so utterly satisfying, and that's because, again, it was a great change for Chuchu's character, but it was really well executed, and it had some really great sound design behind it. Those punches are extra crunchy on a really good sound system. And by the end of the episode, it looks like Suletta is going to be joining the Earth House, which is going to be, of course, more great development for her. It's going to bring her a little bit closer to Mercury, who seems to have some sort of weird sort of obsession with Earth as well. And I never mentioned this, but I love this conversation that Suletta and Mercury had when she's explaining her dream about founding this school. Mercury seems to sort of scoff at this as first, just for the fact that she just sort of does things as she wishes. She doesn't take any compromises in terms of what her goals actually are, and this pisses her off because, of course, Mercury simply just wants to go to Earth, but she has to deal with this shitty school. Also, about halfway through the episode, a giant plot development missile just explodes on the scene, where we get to see that a lot of these people from Earth are protesting everyone who's a part of the Spatian group, and of course, in typical Gundam fashion, they bring out the mobile suits and the tear gas, and they just cause all sorts of chaos. Again, just driving home this conflict that is going on in the background of the series, which of course is tied to the events of this episode. It's eventually going to turn into some sort of war at some point, and I don't know if there's going to be a big divide between the students at the school, or if they're all going to band together and be the fucking Lost Boys from Peter Pan. We're just going to have to wait and see, but I'm glad it's there, and it's another really great layer for this episode, which at first might seem kind of unnecessary in some ways, but man, this was just, it made me give a shit about these characters. The show looked good. It had good animation, good pacing, and music, but it just needed a little bit more something to chew on, something to care about. And that's what this episode finally gave me. They made me care about a character named Chuchu, and to me, that's a pretty big freaking deal. And I'm glad I checked it out. I'm gonna give this one another 4 out of 5. Nearly perfect, still really entertaining, great for Gundam fans. It kind of gives you everything you could possibly want, and I'm really liking the pacing of the series. Like I said, not every episode has to be some giant crazy action scene. The characters themselves are 50% of what makes Gundam so fun to watch, and so far, these are actually pretty interesting so far, despite the fact that it is a stereotypical anime school setting. Still, I'm really digging it, and I hope you guys are too. Maybe we should talk about it in the comments section. Make sure to tell me what you thought about the latest episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. Did you like all the development from the characters in this episode? What about Chuchu? Is she a character you liked before? Did she grow on you in this one? How about those awesome punches? What do you think is going to happen next in the series? Let's discuss all these awesome moments. Comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you all next time. And as always, stay dandy, baby.